How you doing, you guys? Welcome to Rams Digest, where we are going to get into our potential wide receivers in the NFL draft, right? I know that we no longer are going to have Cooper Kupp, which is a heartbreaker for us. But before we start looking at trades with other teams, before we start looking at what we could potentially get from other teams and the other 31 other teams, let's talk about what we could get at the draft, right? So, before we start today's episode, I do want you to hit that subscribe button for us. We are on our road to 5K subscribers, so you can get your daily, weekly Rams content. We are here. We are covering it all throughout the draft, into the draft, after the draft, into the season, right? We are going to have up-to-date content throughout the week. Hit that subscribe button. But let's start it off today's episode. Wide receivers in the draft, right? As we all know, my co-host Josh went over it. We will be losing Cooper Kupp. It's a heartbreaker for me, and I'm pretty sure it's a heartbreaker for Rams house, heartbreakers for us fans. He has been our stud Iron Man wide receiver. He was a triple crown winner. He was a triple crown winner and a part of the 2021 Rams championship team. So losing him, I would wish that he retired the Rams, but it's not likely. He does one out. He doesn't see a future with us in his final years of playing football, and I understand that. But with that being said, we do need to find someone to pair with Puka Nacua. That's why I feel like if we are going to get a stud wide receiver, we should do it in the first round. And if we are going for a wide receiver in the first round, I feel like we should get Ime Udoka. I hope I am saying his last name correctly. Ime Udoka. I feel like that's who we should be going for. Ime is the national championship over at the Ohio State University. If you haven't seen any clips of him, please watch him. He is a stud, and he would be a major add if he is a Los Angeles Rams wide receiver. Just to let you know about him, he had 81 targets for 1,011 yards with 10 TDs. That is a stud, right? The year before that, he didn't have strong numbers only because it was a lackluster quarterback, but he had 515 yards off of 41 targets, but he still had 12.6 yards per reception. That is a lot of yards, right? But this is the second time he had 1K yards. 1K yards and 10 TDs, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I had a little freeze moment there. But I think this is the second time he had 1K yards, right? If we get him in the draft, he can play the slot. I know Cooper played the slot and can complement Puka Nacua because Puka Nacua is a deep threat. So I'm feeling like he probably won't sink out of the top 12, but if he does and falls into our hands, I will be more than happy. This will be a big grab. This will be a game changer, and we will be full. Our wide receiver core will be very, very youthful. Right? Cool. This one right here is a bit of a stretch, but stay with me. Luther Burden III. I know that this name have been floating around. Every team would want him. Right? His name is a household name like Marvin Harrison Jr. from last year. But there's a lot of teams that are looking for quarterbacks. A lot of teams that's looking for offensive linemen. If he sinks out of the top 10 or top 12, he can fall into our lap. I am being very hopeful. But if we are going for a first rounder, this is the person I would want us to get. We are talking about Luther Burden III. And he may not have that star-studded season this year because he was the only reason Missouri was even ranked. And if you guys do not know what I'm talking about, please watch the video clips on him. He is a masterpiece, a playmaker. But this year he did have 61 receptions for 676 yards, and 6 TDs. All that averaging about 11 yards per reception. He is I know 600 don't seem like a lot, but the year before that, he was in the 1K club. He had 1.2K for 86 receptions, 14 yards per reception, and 9 TDs. He is a great, great wide receiver. He's not even staying for his senior year. That's how good he is. I am hopeful that we can get either him or Emeka, and I'm saying that if we land one of those in the first round, that is a game changer. We can pick up literally anybody else in the draft that boosts us up our team, like a linebacker, the DBs, anybody else in the draft that boosts our team up, right? But if we are picking a wide receiver in the first round, I feel like it should just be between him and Luther Bird in the third. I know that the kid from Arizona, I cannot pronounce his name, but I think you know him. It starts with a T. His last name starts with a T. I think he will be top 5, top 10 that gets picked up. So that sinks those two receivers down into our lap. I am being hopeful. But we also have to think about outside the first round, and I do have 2 receivers for that. And one of those receivers is Jaylin Lane. Jaylin Lane is West Virginia Tech. He's straight out of Virginia Tech. He had 36 receptions for 466 yards with 2 TDs, but he averages 12 yards per reception. I know the 466 don't stand out, but we all know the NFL scouts and all of that, they look for sorry, let me adjust this here. The NFL scouts, they look for what you do in the NFL combine, right? I know there's a lot that has to do with what you did on the field in college, but if you have a bad grade at the combine, then they're not going to get picked too high. Jaylin Lane is someone that I could see us getting around the 4th, 5th round, that we did with Puka Nacua. If you haven't seen him, he is the only reason Virginia Tech, to me, was really on the map. He's had about 500 yards prior to last season and almost touched 1K yards his sophomore year. He's entering the draft, and I think that this is a nice little fifth round grab. Now, if we're talking about the 3rd round, I have someone just for you, and that is Tez Johnson. Oh man, Tez Johnson out of Oregon. This was Dylan Gabriel's favorite target. Another, if you are not familiar with college football, watch the highlights and the mixtape on Tez Johnson. He is a stud. He had 83 receptions for 898 yards, 10 TDs, 10 yards per reception. I cannot stress this enough. We would want him on our team. If we have a chance to grab him in the second round, not second round, 3rd round, then I would say let's do it, right? The year before that, he had 86 receptions for 1,182 yards, 13 yards per reception, 10 TDs. If you talk about a stud, this is a stud. I am rolling with Tez Johnson. He is my favorite receiver, and this is why I saved him last for the video. He is my favorite receiver outside of Luther Bird in the 3rd and Emeka. I feel like we can land him the best. With that being said, I do see us getting a wide receiver in the draft. I know we have Jordan Whittington. He's pretty young. We picked him up last year. He produced pretty well for us. But if we can keep building on that receiver core that we have, I feel like Tez Johnson would work. Luther Bird in the 3rd will work. Emeka will work, or Jaylin Lane would work, right? We will stay on top of this. We will stay on top of what receivers we could get in the draft, what receivers we could get in the trade. But today's episode was about the draft. We are staying on top of the draft. We are going to be here after the draft and into the season. Because I feel like we are knocking on that door to be a championship team. With Matthew Stafford returning at that, with Puka Nacua coming, staying, and Kyren Williams, right? Kyren Williams. But if you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button, and so you could get your weekly, daily Rams content. We will stay on top of it. We will not leave you guys hanging. Just hit that subscribe button so you can get the up-to-date feeds, right? That concludes today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the receivers' names that I said that's entering the draft that we will be able to get. With that being said, peace. Till next time.